So now let's go ahead and implement key presses. And first thing we want to do is create a key press function. And it's going to take an event. And the event's going to tell us the key code of the key that was pressed. So let's just console.log that event so that we can see the values we want. And then I'm going to attach the key press event to combo.keyDown. So you need to use keyDown if you want to get arrow keys. And then let's go back here and reload. Go to the console. And we want arrow down. Actually, we want the key code. So key code of that is 40. So 40 is arrow down. And then arrow up is 38. And then we also want carriage return. Which is 13. And now in our key press, we'll have if event.keyCode equal third arrow down, then we'll do something. We'll do something else for arrow up. We'll do something else for return. And then if it's any other character, we're not going to do anything to it because we'll get our search called on key up. So the first thing we want to know is in our search, if the user has typed an up arrow or down arrow, then we're going to want to do something a little different. We'll get to that. But we need to know the currently selected item, which is initially going to be -1. It's going to be off the list, and then when the user presses down for the first time, they'll select the first item, which is element 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, until they get off the list. And if the list had 5 items, the numbers would be 0 through 4, so it would be on item 5 when they go off the list. So we know the item count, but we also need to know each item. So let's go ahead and add item divs is just going to be an empty array. And then when we add our selections, let's go ahead and also set item divs to an empty array here. And then every time we add an item to our selection box, we'll also add it to item divs. And we'll keep track of which one is currently selected. -1. And every time we re-update this list because of a search, we're also going to set selection to -1. So arrow down if selection is less than item count, then selection plus plus. So if we have 5 items, we go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 puts us off the list, but we don't go past 5, so that an up will take us right back onto the list. And then arrow up is going to be if selection is less than or equal to 0, greater than or equal to 0, then selection minus minus, and then on return, we're going to select item, and then we'll pass in item divs sub selection. But we only want to do that if we're in the right range. So if selection greater than equal to 0 and selection less than item count, then we'll select the item. Now we need to do a little more work here too, because we're going to use the current selection in order to highlight the div so you can see what's selected. And so I'm going to create another function called select item, and it's going to take a new selection parameter, and then instead of incrementing selection here, I'm just going to call select item of selected selection plus 1, and then here I'm going to call select item selection minus 1. And then the first thing we want to do if the selection changes is we want to unhighlight the current item div. So if selection greater than or equal to 0 and selection less than item count, item divs sub selection dot remove class, and we're going to remove the highlighted class, which is combo item selected. And then we're going to add the class combo item unselected. Then we'll go ahead and set the selection equal to new selection. And we're basically going to highlight the currently selected item. So this time we're going to remove unselected and add selected. So let's try this so far. And then, oh, and I also need to scroll that box too. So let's keep track of the current scroll position and then use that to figure out when we need to adjust the scroll position. So I'm going to add another variable for scroll position, and that's going to be 0 initially, and I'll reset it to 0. When the selections are added. And then in select item, after I've highlighted the thing, if selection is less than scroll pause and selection greater than or equal to 0, then selection box dot scroll top is going to be equal to selection times item height. And if selection is greater than scroll pause plus max items minus 1. So for example, it's showing the first one, which is item 0, and there's 6 items in the list. So if selection is greater than 5, then we need to scroll to 1, which is max items minus selection. So let me try that. I will comment to myself here. So if scroll pause is 0, we're on the first item, and the list shows 6 items. If selection is 6 here, minus 1, then the new scroll pause should be equal to 1, which is 6 minus 6 plus 1. So that's true. And then multiply that whole thing by item height. So let's see if that's right. Okay, so the top scroll isn't working. Let's go ahead and... Scrolling down seems to work well. Scroll off the list, scroll back onto the list. I seem to be scrolling 1 extra off the top. And I should only be scrolling when I get to the top too, so... Okay, so it looks like the down part is working okay, but the up part isn't. So let's take a look at that. So if the current selection is minus 1, and I get an arrow up, I should skip that. So if it's greater than or equal to 0, and selection is, actually, if I'm on line 5, if I'm showing 5 and the selection is 4, then I want to go up 1. So that's this one right here. So selection less than scroll top. So the selection is 6, scroll position is 2, and I hit the up arrow. Let's go ahead and try it in the debugger here. See if this one's getting called. So that's not the one that's causing it to scroll up. It's got to be this one. Yep. Okay, so the selection is 9. Scroll pause is 0. Oh, I'm not updating scroll pause. Okay, so let me fix that. So here's what I want it to do. Scroll pause equal selection, and then scroll pause times item height, and then here scroll pause equal that, and then scroll pause times item height. So let's give that one a shot. Reload. Okay, so looks good so far. Ooh. And off the list and back on. Okay, so that seems to be doing the right thing. And let me click on CS. Alright, so I'm not getting the click off now. So let's go ahead and inspect element and look at the event listener. So we do have a click on this, but not from our code. So I'm not adding the click handler to all of these things. So let me take a look. Let's see if select item is being called. Nope. And so let's go ahead and put a breakpoint there. Oh, I have two select items. That's not good. So call this arrow. Let's call this select list item instead. And select list item. And this select item is the right select item. So we save that. Click CS. Good. Worked that time. So computer science. And CIS. And now I'm going to hit return. So I'll select on consumer and family studies and hit return. Okay. So now the other thing that I want to do is when I go down the list with the arrow keys, I want to show the text in here. And then when I go off the list, I want to restore the original text. So inside of here, I'm not just going to select the item. I'm also going to set combo text to item divs sub selection dot text. And then I want to remember that this was an arrow because I don't want to overwrite the original text permanently. I want to be able to restore it. So in here, arrow click is false. and then if I get here, so now in my search function, I know whether this key was set by an arrow or by a regular key. And so instead of overwriting the previous search, I'm going to say if not arrow click, then I'll overwrite the previous search. And then I'm going to need to restore the original search when the user scrolls off. So I'll do that in a second. Okay, so that's not quite working. Oh, I wanted combo.value here, not combo.text. So let me go ahead and fix that. Combo val. Ah, okay. So actually I don't want to search at all if it's an arrow key. So let me take a look at this. So if key is previous key, then return, and then if arrow key return. Let's oh, arrow click, not arrow key. All right. So I should get a breakpoint there. Ah, I'm not getting a breakpoint. I want, yeah. I was thinking those were returning, but they're not. So we're done there, and there, and there. Okay, so I got my breakpoint, and okay, so it's updating with the one I'm selected without changing the contents of the box. That's good. But now when I scroll off, I want it to restore the previous text. So here, so if selection is greater than or equal to 0 and selection less than item count, so if new selection less than 0 or new selection greater than or equal to item count, Then let's restore combo.value to previous search. So I'm on the list, I scroll off the list. Nope. Okay, so let's go ahead and put a breakpoint in there. Scroll off. So previous search is empty here. Oh, somehow I lost my code that was setting previous search equal to key. I must have deleted that accidentally. Should have gone right there. So previous search is key. Okay, so scroll off and I'm back. So it has my original search text, and I scroll back, and same here. And then I can select one. And then click works. Return. And then the only other thing I have left is this button here. And then our combo box will be done.